In the shadows of every empire, there is always a hidden economy. Not the economy of goods or labor, not the economy of farms or factories, but an economy of influence, where power itself is bought and sold. We call it lobbying. Please remember to subscribe to our channel. So, how does lobbying got its strong foot? They dress it in noble words, petitioning the government, participating in democracy, shaping policy. Make no mistake, lobbying is corruption. Legalized, institutionalized, sanitized for public consumption. In 2022 alone, corporations and interest groups spent more than $4.1 billion lobbying in the United States. Think about that number. $4.1 billion. Not to invent a cure, not to build a school, not to feed the hungry, but to bend the ears of politicians, to buy their attention, to rent their loyalty. And the return on that investment? Astronomical. Studies show that for every $1 a corporation spends on lobbying, they can expect an average of $760 in government benefits. Imagine that. If a stock gave you that return, every banker on Wall Street would sell his soul to get in. But corporations don't need to gamble. They've built a system where the odds are guaranteed. They call it lobbying, but strip away the paperwork, the legal language, the marble halls of Congress, and what is it really? Bribery, extortion, blackmail, a marketplace where laws are bought like commodities. And here is the darkest truth. This isn't an accident. It isn't some flaw in democracy. Lobbying is the system. The human cost of lobbying. Money is abstract, but death is not. Suffering is not. When we speak of lobbying, we must also speak of blood. Take tobacco. For decades, tobacco executives knew. Their own research revealed that smoking caused cancer, heart disease, and death. Yet instead of acting, they conspired. In 1953, the leaders of America's largest tobacco companies gathered secretly at the Plaza Hotel in New York. Their mission? To create doubt, to bury the truth. They launched advertising campaigns with doctors recommending cigarettes. They paid scientists to falsify data. They lobbied Congress to stall regulations. And it worked for years, for decades. By the time the truth could no longer be denied, it was already too late. The U.S. Surgeon General estimates that tobacco kills 480,000 Americans every single year. That's 1 in every 5 deaths in the nation. Globally, the toll is even worse. Over 8 million deaths annually. Do you understand the scale? That is a holocaust every single year, created not by one dictator, but by corporations with lobbyists in Washington. Or consider opioids. Between 1999 and 2019, nearly 500,000 Americans died from opioid overdoses. 500,000 lives erased, not by street dealers, but by pharmaceutical giants like Purdue Pharma. They promised OxyContin was safe. Less than 1% of users become addicted, they claimed. That was a lie, a lethal lie. And how did they protect that lie? Lobbying. Purdue and other opioid manufacturers spent millions lobbying lawmakers and regulators, ensuring their drugs stayed on the market. The result? Entire towns hollowed out by addiction. Children growing up in homes where both parents overdosed. Babies born already dependent on opioids. When we talk about lobbying, this is what it means. It means addiction dressed as medicine, death legalized by paperwork. Now, look at guns. In 2021, 48,830 people in the United States were killed by gun violence, the highest number ever recorded. Mass shootings dominate the headlines. Schools turned into killing fields. Parents burying children who never made it home. And behind it all, the NRA. Once a simple sportsmen's association, the NRA transformed into one of the most powerful lobbying forces in American history. From 1998 to 2022, they spent over $203 million lobbying Congress, not to protect hunters, not to ensure safety, but to guarantee profits for gun manufacturers. They blocked background checks. They killed bills that would ban assault rifles. They pressured lawmakers to silence victims. And they did it with a simple slogan: guns mean freedom. But freedom for whom? For the child hiding under a desk as bullets rip through her classroom? For the mother cradling her dying son on a city street? For the families who grieve day after day while politicians cash their checks? This is lobbying. It is not abstract. It is not just money. It is blood on the ballot. The philosophy of corruption. Here lies the paradox. We are told democracy is the voice of the people, that laws are shaped by our votes, that justice is blind. But if justice is blind, it is because lobbyists have gouged out her eyes. Lobbying is not outside the system. It is the system. Without it, the machinery of modern politics would collapse. Remove it, and the politicians lose their funding. Keep it, and the people lose their future. It is a paradox without escape. Ask yourself, what is the difference between a mob boss handing an envelope of cash to a city councilman and a corporation donating to a senator's campaign through a registered lobbyist? One is a crime, the other is democracy. The result, however, is the same. Corruption is not always hidden in shadows. Sometimes it walks in daylight, dressed in a suit, speaking in the language of law. Sometimes corruption is not the disease, but the bloodstream itself. This is part 1 of our journey. Tobacco, opioids, guns. 3 industries, 3 examples, 1 reality. Lobbying is not just influence, it is legalized fraud. It is death in daylight. In part 2, we will go deeper into oil and climate change, into Wall Street and the 2008 financial collapse, into the military-industrial complex that profits from war, into the food industry that feeds us poison, into big tech, the new empire of control, and finally, into the philosophy of power itself. But before we continue, I remind you, subscribe, not for me, but for the truth. Because if you leave this knowledge here, it will vanish. But if you carry it with you, if you share it, if you dig deeper, then perhaps, just perhaps, we can begin to see through the lies that shape our world.